everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show, and yeah, that's just what we're going to do. This episode is going to be about Hatchet 3. We've already done one, we've done two over the last couple of weeks. The fourth one's coming out soon. This is the first one for me that was a new watch. I'd seen 1 and 2 before. Tim, you hadn't seen any of them, so it's all been new stuff for you. But that is what we're going to do. We'll start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers. The usual drill. If you're used to the show, you'll know how we roll.
Can you hear me? Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did you think it wasn't on?
I was just paranoid.
Just for context, folks, to why that was a stupid question. Tim was talking to me here before we started recording for about maybe 20 minutes before we started rolling.
Yeah, but I thought maybe that was like more conversational, and Connor was here and stuff, so I didn't know if we weren't really paying attention. Whatever.
I think to trust that I'll mention that if you're on the potato mic, and by potato mic, folks, I mean the built-in mic on his laptop, because that'll sound like shit compared to his actual proper mic that he taps.
Okay.
Because you get a wee tap. A wee tap.
We'll see.
You sound lovely, Tim.
Oh, thank you.
Sound lovely. So those tones are something you want to hear after a long, hard day, and you want to, I imagine that most listeners of this, if they listen to the audio version, or maybe they've got a little tray so they can set a laptop and they can watch it as well. But I feel like most people, the best way to enjoy Screams After Midnight is in a bath.
Okay.
Nice, relaxing bubble bath.
You're giving our listeners a lot of credit, implying that they bathe regularly, but
I hope for the best, Tim. I hope for the best. I'm sure you all bathe at least once or twice a month. So, well, yeah, that was a weird joke to go down to. I don't know where we got to that, but yeah. I suppose it's fitting because we're talking about a movie that is set in like redneck country where everyone's kind of filthy all the time. At least as far as this movie would have us believe, anyway. Everyone's kind of in that sort of vibe. So, Hatchet 3, completing what was once a trilogy but soon to be quadrilogy. We actually pick up again right from where the second movie left off, because the second movie did the same thing. It picked up right where the first one ended. This one did the same thing, although I feel like they did move slightly in position. I felt like they were closer to the hut when it came back. I remember them being further away, but whatever, it's not a big deal.
perhaps, yeah.
But it ended, I guess mild spoilers for the end of the second movie because I kind of have to, but I guess it ends with her completely, or at least it seemed like he was completely dead. Victor Crowley, the killer. It seemed like he was dead. My TV's going to turn off. I'm trying to find the remote. There we go. So she bashed him in the head, and then the start of this movie, he gets back up almost immediately, but then she brutally seals the deal. He has to be dead after this. There's no way he can be alive. In a great sense. We'll talk about how the murders is done in spoilers, but that's how the movie starts. And she comes to the police station with a shotgun and the scalp of Victor Crowley, and that's kind of how we start the movie. And just the first and foremost, I forgot to mention this in the last two, but for some reason these movies have a knack for picking really awful music for their opening titles sequence. Just a screamy metal nonsense that.
Yeah, it's a lot of butt rock that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, and I like some metal. It's just this type of metal is just particularly bad. It's just all this screamy nonsense. But so
screaming nuns.
Nonsense, not nuns. Screaming nuns. I'd be interested to see what that sounds like. But hey, so the movie, for the first time, and I actually think it's to the benefit of this movie, is that it has kind of two plots going on at the same time, because the last two were very much following the characters into the woods. They get picked off one by one. This one, we have two plots going on. We have this reporter lady who is played. Did you recognize her actually, the Amanda?
I knew she was someone, but I couldn't place my finger on it, and I was too lazy to IMDb it. But I definitely know I've seen her before. It
is a deep horror movie pull. She was the lead character in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, obviously it's been 30 plus years. She looks different, but well, actually not 30 plus. It's been about 30, but
yeah, the voice was like super recognizable. So I was like, I know that's a horror person, but I'm too lazy to check it out right now, and then I
Yeah.
forgot.
So there's a lot of familiar faces in this. We also have the sheriff, played by Zach Galligan, who, if you don't recall that name, he was the lead character in Gremlins, and Gremlins 2, of course, and then not a lot for
Nothing
a long
else.
time. Yeah. So he's here. You've got those. Obviously, we have Danielle Harris back as Mary Beth. Kane Hodder still playing Victor Crowley, and of course, we joked that because we had the same actor, Perry Shen, played a character in the first one. He played a character in the second one who was different. He was like his brother. And we joked, does he have a triplet? Is that what's going to happen in the next one? It turns out there's no triplet, but he is a different character. He's just a random other character. And they even make a little joke about it when because the medics are like picking up the dead bodies. And he's like, hey, this guy looked like you. He's like, because he was Asian, we all look alike. Like, they make a little joke out of it. But yeah, so you got the cast. Even there's like a SWAT guy who shows up at one point, Derek Mears. I was like, I know him from stuff, and I looked him up, and I have seen him in so much stuff. He played Jason in the remake Friday the 13th,
Okay.
but he was in Twin Peaks this year.
Oh, okay.
I don't have to spoil it. All I have to say is arm wrestling. That's all I have to say.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
there you go. So he was in that. He's been in tons of stuff. He's one of these actors who just pops up all over the place. Whenever they need a tall guy to be someone.
He was another guy that I was like, oh, he looks familiar, and I'm sure it's probably some horror movie, but I forgot to look.
Yeah. So you got that. So you got two plots. You've got Mary Beth's been locked up because they all think she's a crazy killer, and journalist lady who's convinced that Victor Crowley exists and that he's real is trying to get her to help because she's got this insane plan to end the curse. So that they're off doing that. Meanwhile, the cops and the medics and then eventually the SWAT team are like dealing with the crime scene, and then they're the ones who start getting picked off one by one. So you've got it was actually really nice that in this movie every so often to just sort of help the pacing, it would cut away to another plot because it never did that in the first two, and that made a bit of a difference to me. But that's the setup of the movie. So I'll ask Tim the question that I always ask: how did you feel? Did you enjoy Hatchet 3?
All right, so I'm gonna save you and me and the listeners a lot of time.
Okay.
Pete, just go ahead. Go to your little computer file folder or whatever. Find the file that we did for the review of Hatchet 2 and just cross out the 2 and put a 3 on there. 'Cause this was the exact same movie, and I'm not necessarily saying that in a bad way. I did like it. I had fun with it, but I mean, honestly, is there really that much difference between this and the second one?
Do you know what's funny about you saying that? Is I actually think 1 and 2 are the exact same movie, more or less, and then 3 is the one that's a little bit different.
I don't know. This felt, and again, it's like I did still have fun because, like we said in the first two movies, you're not really coming to this for the intricate, intriguing plot or whatever, but you're basically coming in for the kills. And yes, it had a lot of good kills, but it just felt like the same thing. It's like, there's a lot of great kills. There's, they kind of assemble this. Yeah, this team is assembled. It's basically just going to be body bags, and then there's kind of this plot with this one person who thinks they know how to end the curse. I won't say if they succeed or not, but that's kind of the secondary plot or whatever going on to the killings.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. I do think the simple fact. There's two things that I think make me like this better than 2. Just a little bit, not by a huge extent. I'm not saying this is great or amazing or anything. I'm saying it's a little bit better than 2.
Sure, yeah.
The kills are very similar, and they're over the top and wacky, and they're good fun, like they always have been. I think the fact that it's a separate B plot, because before it was just like the character who was with them in the woods, whereas here it was actually cut into a different plot. So it was like a break from the chaos. Like it actually split it up. So we weren't following them in the woods for the same amount of time. I wasn't as bored with them walking around the woods, right?
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I still wouldn't say it's that different. It's it's really just a difference of location.
Hey, in this scenario, I'm saying that's enough to make a little bit of a difference. That it split up because when it cut back to the other characters, they weren't also walking around the woods and hiding and thinking they're going to get killed at any point.
True.
They were bickering, and there was a lot of jokes and F-bombs at each other, and there's a sort of running gag where Amanda's making this cop who she kind of knows to do everything she says, even though he could lose his job, and it was more of a comedy side plot, but it was separate. And then the other thing that I think makes it work a little bit for me is that I do kind of like that this time, when this SWAT team show up, they basically come packing heat. This is like the aliens of Victor Crowley, right? And I like there's that one cop who's basically brought a rocket launcher and like a bag of like just ridiculous guns because he's so scared of the stories of Victor Crowley. I'm not saying it's that much of a difference. I'm saying it's a little bit of a difference. I'm saying just a touch more, where I just think this was just a little bit more refined to the part where I felt like, okay, I'm not as feeling the slog of going through the woods quite as much because it is breaking it up every so often, and it is,
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like it's like things do feel more refined in this, and but yeah, it is just like a matter of inches, like it's not like, oh, the first two were okay, but man, this is where it gets really good. It's like, first one was like, all right, and then
even the fact that it involves the police and the services, because the second movie she doesn't go to them, she just kind of gets another group of people to go on the boat.
True.
That's basically what happens in the second movie, and I like that someone actually points that out to her, that that's contrived as shit.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, people just went on, but that's what you did after that horrific incident. You got more people to go back out on the boat. It's just making fun of the fact that the second movie was the exact same, which, again, is why I think the third one's a little bit different. And hey, Perry Shen's character survives. Oh, that's a spoiler, I guess, but but hey, that's notable because his character died in the first two.
That's true.
So that was
yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm too harsh on this movie. Like, I did enjoy it, but I basically like have pretty much the same feelings about really the series as a whole. Like, I do think the first one is definitely the weakest, but after that, it feels like it's just incremental amounts of like, all right, this a little better, this a little better, and I mean, the series is like a lot of fun. It's not something that I think is bad or that's not worth watching. It's just trying to think of like kind of unique stuff to say about this. I feel like is like a little hard. Like it's like what else can I say other than like, hey, kills a really cool, story is the story,
Yeah. I think the humor was a little bit better. I think the characters are just a little bit more interesting or likable than they were in the second one, I guess.
Yeah, I think they finally kind of let go of the cringeworthy stuff. Like, there wasn't as many like, asshole dudes looking to get laid, kind of humor and stuff in it.
Yeah, they made a bit more sense. Even they were still cartoony, but they weren't.
Yeah.
Again, it was just a little bit better. I feel like the series has progressively gotten a little bit better each time. Not a huge amount each time, just a little bit.
Which, hey, it's not a bad thing. I mean, especially if it ends up being like 8 movies, and then by the time we get to that one, it'll be really, really good.
Oh god, yeah, number 10 might be the best horror movie ever made by the time we get there. Yeah, but so like it's fine. If you like the second one, I think you like the third one. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah,
and I think that the way they treat him in this one as well is more of a force is more interesting. Like whenever he pops up, I feel like in the second movie and even the first movie as well, like the way they kind of concealed him, we got the flashbacks of him, and like the way he would kind of like always retreat. I actually kind of like that in this one. It feels like he goes through a lot of people really quickly. He just like goes from person to person, just tearing them apart in his way. And hey, so some people who I expected to live didn't, and some people who I expected to die didn't. So, I give them something with that. And there was more testicles hanging from tree branches in this one than the previous 2 movies. So
that's very true.
That's worth mentioning. So no, that'd be the spoiler-free section. So I think we'll give you a full spoiler warning so we can start talking about kills and the plan and how it works or fails, and you know which one it's probably going to be. But so full spoilers for Hatchet 3. So I think the pacing's a little bit better in this one in the sense that much like the second one, it starts off with a really cool over the top kill, and it's Victor Crowley getting sawed in half by the chainsaw.
Oh right, that was really cool.
That was really cool because he basically sort of goes like this and splits, and you just sort of see all these innards on both sides. It's a really nice little kill. But I think it doesn't take as long to get to the next kills. This one, it's because when the medics are on the boat and they're talking about stuff, and you just see him start to go through people and like rip off arms and all that, which he does in this one. He rips off multiple arms. He pulls someone's spinal cord out again. This time from the front. He does that to the big tough guy. That's a fun kill.
I think the problem with these are that the kills are still really cool. They look really good, but I feel like it's reaching a point where it's like
we've seen them all
right,
already.
Yeah, we've seen heads getting torn off, arms getting ripped off, spinal cords being ripped out, and I don't want to complain about them because it's all really cool stuff, but it is kind of like, all right, yeah, I've seen this before.
That said, someone does get hit in the head with a head.
That's true.
Because he throws a head at someone. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: we complained in both the first and the second movie. We complained that the weakest kill was the sander because it just didn't look that good.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny in this is that they actually set it up. They're like, "Oh, we got a sander from like the evidence, and it's like sitting outside the boat." And then you hear it like rev up, and it's like, oh god! It really, the building up to this is like we all give a shit about the sander. It was like the worst weapon in the first two movies, but they're making it his like secondary weapon behind the hatchet, which he doesn't actually use that much in this one. I feel like there was no hatchet kills, but whatever. I'm not complaining.
No, not really. Yeah.
But he ends up not killing anyone with it. He just kind of uses it to like stand through the door so he can eventually grab the people inside, which he does. He basically rips the skin off like the woman who's in there that was talking to Shen, and the sheriff does go down as well. They both get pulled through the same hole like idiots.
Yeah, I think it was the sheriff. You just see, his like head kind of goes through there, and then it pops back, and it's just completely like torn off.
Yeah, so you have that, and so the kills are fun. I do like when the scared cop just says screw this, and he just pulls out his rocket launcher.
Yeah, that was fun.
What I like about that is it's kind of like it's almost, you can almost imagine like two friends sitting on a couch saying, "Why don't I just shoot Jason with a rocket launcher? Like, that could work." I feel like that's where that idea came from, and obviously he misses though, and he hits the SWAT guy instead. So Crowley gets almost nothing. He's on fire a little bit, but nothing else. Yeah. He's fine. He's fine. So that's the kills for the most part. Except for when, of course, Crowley himself dies and he melts because the ashes of his father hit him and he just melts into like a bloody pit. And then Mary Beth just blows him up with a shotgun.
And I was surprised that actually worked. I kept expecting like some type of twist. I really thought that they weren't going to turn out to be, her dad's ashes because when they go get them from that guy,
Seth Haig.
Yeah. They say something like, "Oh, this is like blah blah blah." I forget his names, but whoever's ashes, right? And he goes like, "No, that's my brother's ashes," or something like that. So I kept expecting to be some type of misdirect where it's like, "Oh, he never actually said they're his ashes. There's another brother or something like that." But not actually working. That was definitely a cool effect, and I like her basically being like stuck to this tree and continually kind of waiting for him to make some type of move, and eventually she just goes like, screw it, and just shoots him.
Yeah, you say stuck to a tree. She's impaled in the tree specifically. Because you think
she's not just sitting on top or something.
And she actually like the ending. It's actually probably the clearest ending of the three movies because it doesn't end in this weird cliffhanger. You can kind of tell this was supposed to be the ending, where Crowley's finally dead and she is like, you think she's like dying with her final breaths, and then it goes to black and it comes back up again and it shows you her breathing and it goes to the credits. And it's like, okay, that's fine, it works. There's a whole running plot. The cop that helps him gets killed. Amanda gets killed as well. That's the journalist. They both get killed. There's a running plot when they meet Sid Haig that Sid Haig's like racist as shit because the cop is black and he makes all these comments and he's like, the cop's like, and it's played for comedy mostly. It's just mostly this kind of like, he's this delusional old guy, and the cops like sort of calling it all out and stuff. So some of it's kind of amusing, some of it's just kind of like whatever. Like honestly, most of the humor throughout the movie is kind of like that. Some of it works, some of it just kind of falls flat and feels kind of
like it's one of those things where it's kind of funny, but then it's like after a while it's kind of like, all right, come on, like we get it. He's this old racist guy, whatever. And then one complaint I kind of have is the whole, like you said, there's this like side plot of them trying to end the curse by finding the ashes and blah 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 whatever, And like you said, yeah, that is interesting and it's cool that they're cutting to it, so it's not making everything so similar. But I feel like they repeated stuff so much. Like there's so much back and forth between Amanda and Mary Beth, where it's like you have to hand him the ashes. Like no, I'm not gonna do it. It's like no, you have to do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. You're the only one who can do it. Why do I have to do it? Like after a while, I was like, all right, come on, just you're gonna do it. You're gonna go there. Just do it.
Well, because at first it wasn't like the ashes had to hit him. She seemed to imply it was like you have to give them to him in the urn,
Yeah.
and he'll accept them, and that'll end the curse. And then it turns out to be throw the ashes on him and he'll melt, which was a cool effect. I'll give it that. It looked pretty fun when it happened. So I can't fault that part of it, I guess.
Yeah, that was definitely cool. I just could have done without like I don't know. It's one of those things where it probably seemed longer in my head, but just feels like there's a lot of cutaways to them in the car and in the prison and stuff where it's like, come on, just you're gonna go there and do what you have to do. Enough back and forth about it.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like I'm being really positive in this, but it's only positive comparatively to the other two movies. Like it's not that great. It's still a decent slasher movie.
Yeah, I think it's really good at what it does, which it's not trying to be super inventive or original or a high piece of art. It's just trying to be a fun, B horror movie, which I think it does really, really well.
It does it fairly well. Honestly though, I feel like even this one, which I think is probably the best of the three, I don't think I would like pick it over most actual 80s slasher movies. And I don't even mean the obvious ones. I mean like like what was it?
Blood Rage.
Yeah, I like Blood Rage more. That's a good example, Tim. Yeah, not a great one, but one that I still like more than this. Has more charm, I think. But
yeah,
it's
always like a little hard when you're trying to recreate something, and you can kind of see like, oh, this is where they're trying to be cutesy, and when they're giving a nod to here and there, and oh, that's like a nice little wink. But yeah, it's never going to be as good as the kind of the originals that it's homaging to.
No, that's absolutely true. I don't think I have much more to say. This is one of our shorter episodes, but like ultimately,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I just don't really know like what else to say. I think it's like I don't know if I would ever feel the need to like, oh, I gotta rush out and watch them again. I feel like it could be like a fun party movie to put on. Like you put it on the background, and every once again you glance over, you see a cool kill or something. Oh, it's fun.
I think it almost hurt watching them all so close together. Because it does feel a little bit repetitive.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that 100%.
More so than, say, like Friday the 13th, where, we've been working through those, we've done the first three. It's been a while since the fourth one, we're going to get back to it. It's just, all these other new movies are kind of creeping up on us. For example, there would have been the fourth one already if a new Hatchet movie wasn't announced to be being released soon. Yep. And, like, but Friday the 13th, I feel like I can binge watch those. I feel like I can binge watch, like, all of those, and I won't feel that, bored by them.
Yeah, I feel like those, differentiate themselves enough from one another where, even if you are watching one right after another, it's enough of a difference that it can still be enjoyable.
There's an evolution, there's, like, wildly different characters, there's, like, just all these other things that make it stand out. And you see this evolution go from movie to movie where, okay, 2's Jason, he's got the sack, then 3 gets the hockey mask, 4's when he really becomes Jason, though, and he starts to move like Jason. And then 5's the weird oddity, and then 6 is a bit more fun, and then 7 is Carrie versus Jason, then 8 he goes to Manhattan. like it just like there's different things happening where so much of this really does feel like the same. Now, admittedly, I know the first like several Friday the 13th are all at the summer camp, right? I get that the first few of them are very similar. 4's arguably the first one that does something different because it's more these houses instead of the camp, but no, that's a huge difference, admittedly, but. It feels different enough. Whereas here, I do feel like this feels a little bit repetitive watching the three of them, just week to week, back to back in that sense. So
with that being said, are you excited for Victor Crowley? Like, do you have some hesitation going into it, or think possibly it could be surprisingly good?
Honestly, it's kind of the same how I felt with going into 3. Which is basically, I'm not excited, I'm not dreading it, I'm just kind. This is almost a damning thing to say, but I'm kind of indifferent. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to watch it, and I'm not bothered that I'm going to watch it, but I'm not expecting to be blown away. I'm not expecting to be, hating it or anything. But
Well, yeah, it's, possibly better than having like high expectations of being let down.
yeah, possibly.
Um, I would say at this point I am mildly excited. Like it's not like I'm, oh my God, I can't wait. But I don't know, there's something about a franchise that I just like when we're getting new ones in it. I don't know, but yeah, it's I guess if it's bare minimum, if it's just kind of more of the same, but maybe hopefully at least a little better. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they bring him back. I mean, admittedly, in this one, they just kind of established that it's magical. It's a curse, so he comes back no matter what. Like his body will just reform. It's fine. So technically, they use the ashes to melt him. So I don't know how they'll explain it, but it'll probably just be like a hand wave like that. It'll just be, oh, magic curse. He's back.
What I'd kind of like to see them do is, it's very obvious that this is like a, I don't know what you say, not like a parody, but maybe like an homage or like a love letter to slasher movies. I think specifically Friday the 13th, it feels very Friday the 13th like, and I think it'd be cool if they would, instead of kind of, trying to like redo the same kind of movie, if they start doing more stuff like, all right, maybe in the next one he goes into space or something, like get really crazy with it, like try to emulate how the other like slashers kind of take those routes.
I'll pare that down, Tim. Space would be great, sure. Honestly, it just needs to get out of that fucking swamp, because I am sick of seeing the swamp at this point. I am sick of those woods. I'm sick of that cabin. We've seen it 3 times, and the 4th one, unfortunately, is about a plane with 3 people, landing in the swamp. Like that's like we're going to be in the swamp. Because I said this when I saw it, but the trailer reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park 3. Because they get like one of the survivors as a guide on a plane, and they're just going to fly over, and then the plane has to land, and they're all stuck there. It's the plot of Jurassic Park 3. It's actually kind of insane.
Oh,
But I guess we'll rate it then. I guess we'll rate the movie out of 10. How are you feeling?
I think I'm gonna give it a pretty decent score. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.5, which like, I think like the 7 is kind of like, I like this. This was pretty good. So and I feel like it's not quite there yet, but it's inching there. It's close. So
interestingly,
like 6.5.
I'm going lower than you, and you sounded way more negative than I did, funnily enough. I am giving this a 6. For the record, the first one got a 5, the second one got a 5.5, this one got a 6. It's went up a half a point each time. If I come out Victor Crowley saying it's a 6.5, I'll be thrilled. But I don't feel like it will be. I feel like at best it'll match this, and it might actually be more like 1 or 2, depending. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But there you go. That's Hatchet 3. It's fine. that's my review of it. It's fine.
I think it's kind of hard, like in this day and age with the internet and everything. I feel like it's either great or it's horrible. So sometimes when something is just okay or just fine, it kind of like sounds insulting. It's like even when you say it, like you kind of have to say it like it's fine. Like you kind of like exasperated. But
sometimes it's more fun to hate something. Like you're passionate about it, and I'm not.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is the worst thing I can say about the Hatchet movies is I'm just not passionate about them. I don't care about them that much. They just kind of exist. They exist. They're okay to a point.
Oh wait. Oh, we totally forgot like a huge thing. Like it probably didn't mean much to us because we're not like huge fans of the series. But if you are a huge fan of the series, they had a nod to the main guy from the first one in this.
Did they?
Yeah, he like pops up in the boat. And then
oh, so you're right, yeah, it does, yeah.
He pops up, he's like, oh, I survived, and then like he gets killed real quickly. And he's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, you said that, so we had to talk about that, and then you said it, and I'm like, I don't think we had to talk about that, so it's fine.
Well, I think if there's any hardcore Hatchet heads that are listening to this, they're probably like, pulling their hair out, going, I can't believe they didn't mention that. The callback to the first one.
Do hardcore Hatchet fans exist? I don't know if they do.
It's gotta be at least 2 or 3.
I feel like people always make fun of Avatar and I feel like this is what this is like the Avatar of horror movies. Even though I like Avatar more than most people do like Avatar, but people talk about Avatar like it's the movie that did really well that no one cares about. I don't agree with that. I quite enjoy Avatar, but I feel like that's what Hatchet is to horror fans. It's like it's there, it's fine. No one's begrudging its existence, if I can speak properly.
Yeah.
But like no one really cares that much either. I feel like that's what Hatchet is to horror fans. I could be wrong. If you're a super fan, let us know. But
plus, you really have to see it in 3D.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's what everyone says about Avatar.
I don't say that about Avatar, but okay.
That's every time someone mentions Avatar, it's always like, oh, like it's okay, but I gotta admit, the 3D, ooh boy, like, whatever. I saw it in 2D. I don't care.
I saw them both, and I thought it was just as good in 2D.
Mm-hmm.
My Blu-ray's not in 3D; it's in 2D. That is how I choose to commemorate it, because I'm not buying a 3D TV. Screw that. That tech is basically dead now. Anyway, no one wants it. It sucks.
2D, the way God intended movies to be watched.
I'm going to stop Tim before he goes down a rabbit hole. This has been Hatchet 3 review from Streams After Midnight. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fudge for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. There'll be a link in the description for you to check that out. Of course, you get monthly votes and stuff. Obviously, we're right at the end of a month. In fact, this will go up on the last day of the month for Patreon. But if you're on the public, then the next vote will already be up for the following month. So you can check out the new vote, which we've not revealed what it is yet, but you can go and check that out when this goes up. It'll be there by now. So that is that. That is cool. And obviously, of course, there's a Crypt, which is the user-submitted list of horror movies. Anyone in the $5 tier can just submit movies to go into this to-do list. In fact, we'll be getting to one of them soon. It's been a little while now. It's been a couple of months since we did the last one. So we'll pick a movie off the Crypt list soon. There'll be a link to that in the description as well. Everyone can look at the list. It's just you can only submit to the list if you're a patron. But there you go. I've not plugged that in a little while, so I thought I'd get it in. But there you go. That has been Hatchet 3. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching horror movies, guys. We'll see you next time.